My name is Father Jason Reese, pastor of Holy Redeemer Parish on the north side of Evansville. Also, so glad to be with you guys here tonight. And tonight we hear in our gospel that question, which is the first commandment. And he's not asking Jesus okay, the 10 commandments, do you remember which one is the first one? He's asking which is the greatest. And it's certainly something that we're kind of all can get into at times. Who is the greatest basketball player of all time? Certainly growing up, Michael Jordan was that for me, and there was great arguments against myself and my friends, and I said, no, it's really, that turnaround jumper that you couldn't defend against until you figured out that was my only move, and you can swat the ball every single time. Others, it was Larry Bird, just dropping threes. Others, it was Magic Johnson with that no-look pass. And there was that great kind of consternation. Now you might have to kind of throw in Kobe Bryant, you might have to throw in LeBron James, Steph Curry, and certainly it's just a part of who we are to kind of figure out who or what is the greatest. Like, what is the greatest ice cream flavor? How about our chocoholics out there? Greatest ice cream flavor? Really? Come on, guys. If you like ice cream, you like chocolate, get your hands in there. Great. Okay, vanilla folks. Do the vanilla folks kind of plain? That's all right. It's okay. Strawberry folks. Strawberry? Okay, yeah. Great thing, go Neapolitan. You can have all three of the greatest of them all. Anybody here give up ice cream for Lent? Sorry. Anybody here lactose intolerant? Sorry. Ice cream at all, not the greatest. And then the scribe today comes to Jesus to ask him, what is the greatest law? Because at that time, in what we call the Old Testament, there were 613 different precepts of the Old Law. I mean, we think it's enough just with the 10 Commandments, right? But there's 613, and it's kind of common that they might come and say, so what do you think is the greatest? And Jesus very simply says, well, the first is this. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is your God, the Lord alone. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. Now, Jesus wasn't kind of just naming different body parts to kind of, say the totality, but he was basically saying, love the Lord your God with everything that you are. And this would have been very familiar to all of those that were listening. This portion, what Jesus says is that first commandment, comes from the book of Deuteronomy. Moses giving the law to the people. It's called the Shema Israel. Those first words, hear, O Israel. These words were so important to the people of Israel that they would pray them every morning and pray them every evening. So important, in fact, that they would be written on a small scroll and put into a metal box and put on their doorpost. That when they would come in and out of the house, they would touch their hand to that to remember to whom they belonged. To remember who it was that loved them and what their response was to be. So Jesus kind of starts off with that new one, and Jesus, being a very generous man, says, okay, I'll give you one, but I'm going to follow up. I'm going to give you a second one. Even though you didn't ask for it, I'm going to give you the second one. The second is this. Love your neighbor, love others as you love yourself. That's it. Mic drop. Jesus is done. This is the greatest. And the scribe is very impressed by that, right? Because Jesus kind of cuts through 613 different precepts, cuts through even the 10 commandments to break it down into its lowest common denominator. Love the Lord with everything that you are, everything that you have, and love others as you love yourself. Guys, this weekend, we have that opportunity to come here to Mater Dei, to come here around this burning bush that will be ignited here shortly, to love the Lord our God with all that we are, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. We have a chance, in a sense, to kind of move out of just the world and everything else going on around us, to come here, to be able to practice this greatest commandment and the second one as well. And it's not going to be easy. Because even here there are many distractions. Even here there are many maybe worries or concerns that you have. Many things that you guys have given up to be here this weekend desire to kind of suck you back out, to suck your attention out, to have you kind of focused on something else, or weighed down with your worries or your concerns, or what's the person next to me thinking? Is it Captain Neil who's next to you, making sure that everybody around you is kneeling every single time that we come to prayer? Is it whatever is the person that you're looking at going, what in the world are you doing? Or will you just be quiet? I'm trying to pray to Jesus. There's going to be lots of distractions even here. The Lord calls you here to this practice, to this place where it's a little bit easier. Because there are others who are like you. There are others who are here to love the Lord their God with everything that they are, and to try to love each other as they love themselves. You might be saying, Father, that's second one's kind of easy maybe, because I really don't love myself. Kind of awkward, don't really know who I am, kind of feel like I have to be this certain person to everybody else, but I really don't feel like that's who I am inside. And his brother was telling us earlier today, God chose each one of you. Chose you not just to be here, but to be his beloved. To be his beloved sons and daughters, created in his image and likeness, claimed for him by the blood of his Son, Jesus Christ, on the cross, through your baptism, to be his beloved. Beloved beyond anything you can imagine. Jesus wants you to experience that love in a very powerful way. Brother reminded us as well that God doesn't invite junk into the wedding feast. God doesn't make junk. He makes us beautiful and holy in his sight. And in that way, he calls us to love others as we love ourselves. Jesus knew that we needed both of these commandments. That it's not an either or, it's both and. And I think it's no coincidence that our relationship with God and our relationship with others ends up in the form of a cross. We have to love God above all things. We have to love others as ourselves. Because that's the perfect image of that love. Right there. That love that loved his Father with a heart so incredible that said, my Father, whatever you ask of me, even at that moment in the Garden of Gethsemane, Lord, that you will let this cup pass from me, but not as I will, but as you will. Because I love you, and I trust you. And that love that looked out upon all those, even those who were there, assisting in that cruel, torturous death, he said, I love them as well. That's why I'm here. Because he is that beautiful, incredible example for us. That complete and total love of his Heavenly Father. And each of us as he loved himself. Brothers and sisters, we come to tonight, we start this retreat, and we come from many different places, but the Lord draws us together here to start with this, the Eucharist. Where we will hear our theme, not just because we're speaking it, but because it's a part of the Mass. Blessed are those called to the supper of the Lamb. Blessed are we called today to be here, gathered here, to this supper of the Lamb, celebrated in the Eucharist, that God loved us so much that he gave his only begotten Son. To love us even when we don't necessarily love ourselves. To love us, to come enough to be able to receive him, body, blood, soul, divinity, in this Eucharist. Brothers and sisters, that example of Jesus Christ on the cross, love of God and love of neighbor, were personified in a person. Certainly Jesus Christ and each of us as well, but there was a woman, her name is Mariah. Mariah just passed away this week. Mariah was beautiful and incredible and holy and loved. Mariah Littmeyer from Washington, Indiana. And Mariah and her sisters have been very involved. Sisters probably more so in Source and Summit over the years. All very involved in the Teens Encounter Christ movement. And Mariah was born differently abled. And she had a limp. It was very pronounced. perhaps it was difficult for her to do everything that everyone else did. But Mariah was always there. She was there to love the Lord and to love others as well. There at Washington Catholic, she worked in the library for many years. She was the lady who helped you to check out your books. She was the one who would ask, how are you doing today? She was the one that would reach out in love to be able to do something special if she knew you were having a tough time. She was there to be able to wish you a happy birthday when it was your birthday. She was there to be able to do those things even in secret because she loved those around her. She loved the Lord. She loved Him and loved to be with Him in the celebration of the Eucharist. She loved going to the Adoration Chapel. She loved to come and hear her sisters, her brother Roy, be able to provide music at Mass, at Source and Summit, at Tech. She loved the Lord, her God, and she loved others as she loved herself. She was the person that was close to God. She was the one that other people would call when something difficult was happening. I was just talking to Maureen a little bit earlier. Maureen said, when I was going to my brother's house because my brother was close to death, Mariah was the one I called. Because I knew Mariah was close to God. I knew Mariah would pray for my brother. Brothers and sisters, that the Lord gives us those people around us and calls each of us to love the Lord our God with all our hearts, soul, with all our mind, with all of our strength, with everything that we are. He invites us this weekend here to begin that journey even more, to practice, to be here. To practice and to strengthen ourselves that when we leave here, this isn't just a nice weekend, but this strengthens us, this connects us with others who love the Lord like we do, who love others as we do. That's strengthened and supported, we can go forth out of these walls to love the Lord in the Lord, to love others as ourselves. Whether you're here because you've been here every year since you could in 7th grade, whether this is your very first time coming, whether you are so excited to be here that you couldn't contain yourself, or somebody else told you that you had to be here, you're here. Because the Lord desires you to be here, have this chance to be loved, to love one another, and to love Him. Let us, this Source and Summit, come to Him in a very powerful, very special way to recognize that love and that call. And what we do here is not about just something that we do on Sunday or on retreat, but that we do because of a relationship of love with one who is love Himself.